Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, September the 25th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week here. As always, as we start the show, let me remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember, hashtag itspotlight401 is the hashtag you want to use when discussing our show or when tweeting at us. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can follow us, interact with us, and all that good stuff. So we're on time. We're on time relatively tonight, only about 10 minutes later, but that's in the range. When you do a podcast or a live podcast or a live radio show, as long as you're within 15 minutes either way of the start time you schedule, then you're in good shape. So we're right in that range. So better than what we have been. So a couple of things before we get going, because we do have a little bit to do tonight here, as we're going to cover the world of sports tonight. So we know we'll talk about NFL Week 3, look ahead to Week 4, do a little college football. There was a big upsets with that. We'll talk about the NFL's big crisis, because they do have a crisis, and it needs to be talked about and ranted about, and everybody's ranting about, but it needs to be just, we kind of we kind of mentioned it in passing last week. We kind of mentioned the whole Craig Matthews thing, but now it needs to become a more full blown discussion, because it's a bigger deal. It's a bigger deal now. It's becoming a bigger deal now, I should say. So, we'll talk about the NFL's big crisis they got going on. And then we got some baseball. We are in the last week of the regular season, so there is one race really that's still in play. Everything else looks like it's been pretty much decided, and that's unfortunate for the MLB, but it is what it is. So we'll talk about those races, talk about all the big highlights from Major League Baseball over the last week, and look ahead here as we close in on the playoffs. 1 week from tonight, you'll have the first wild card playoff game. So we are closing in big on the playoffs. So it should be it's interesting. We'll talk about all that, and of course we have to talk about Tiger Woods and what transpired this weekend with him in a tournament that I know people are going to say, oh, it's not a major. It's look, folks, it's still a big deal what happened, especially if you take it into account the entire season of golf for him. But we'll talk more about that later on in the program. So, we got all that to go through. But first, I want to talk to you all about what's going to be going on with the show over the next few weeks. Now, I've been mentioning this over the last couple of weeks. I've teased for months. I've teased that there are going to be changes coming to the show. And that we were going to be changing the format. We're going to be doing more shows a week, all that kind of stuff, right? And of course, at the same time, we haven't had our co-host. My co-host Mike has not been with us since, I think, what was it, mid-May. And that's because, he got another job, and then there was a lot of personal stuff going on with him, and he's doing better now, but he's still going through the job thing. Well, his job situation might be changing, and therefore his status might be changing in terms of being available to us. Because I'm going to be honest with you folks, there was a part of me during the last maybe month or so that thought we were not going to see him back on the show, and then I was going to either have to reach out to a new co-host or do something where we have rotating co-hosts or something. We were going to do something. That was one of the reasons why we haven't really talked much about what we were doing with the show, because that's one thing we haven't settled on yet, along with other things as well. Well, over this last week, it's become apparent to me that there might be a chance that we'll get Mike back on the show, which would be great, because I really don't want to do this show. As much as I know some people like to hear me talk, and as much as I like to do the shows, and I feel like we can get them things done, and it works much better when you have somebody to work with, and this, have a dissenting opinion and all that stuff. So I really, really hope that he'll be available to us going forward. I think he might be, but we'll see. I think over the next week I'll be able to find out, probably for sure. I'm hoping so, but we'll see. More on that, maybe hopefully on Thursday. Now, as I've been saying, I've been teasing over the last few weeks that changes will be coming. There was a chance that the new format would start this week. It did not. I told you that last week that we weren't going to start this week. I said we're looking at probably October 1st. Well, A number of our fans, and we've been very blessed doing this show for 8 years. Our 8-year anniversary is coming up in a couple of weeks here. I have been very blessed to have fans that give us really good advice and constructive criticism, and I'm never shy about giving their opinions, but they always give their opinions in the ways that I like when people give opinions, which is they give their opinion, but they also give you a suggestion on how you can solve the problem. I've always appreciated that. I think it's very helpful. So over the last week or so, since I indicated that October 1st we were going to start this, um, a number of fans have consulted me, emailed with me, and said, if you're going to do this 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time slot, it works fine for Tuesdays and Thursdays. And look, we as a show, we've always gone up against something. Okay, we've gone up against big college basketball games. We've gone up against playoff games in the NBA and NHL and even in MLB, World Series games. We've gone up against big things. This is not something new. However, we've gone up against these things with the idea that we only do 2 shows a week. Sometimes 3 when you do the football show. All right. Now, we would give you score updates and stuff, but we weren't on the air for the bulk of the game. And we only did it twice a week. And sometimes, if somebody really, really wanted to watch a game, they'd, wait to listen to us or watch us till later. And that's fine, So there, it's even though we've gone up against these things, it's never really become a problem. Well, a lot of our fans have indicated to me that this might become a problem for them if we were going to be doing more shows during the week instead of just the 2 shows that we do now. Now, I had indicated that we would be doing maybe 4 or 5 shows a week, and that we were looking at this 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. At one point, we were looking at doing the show during the daytime, but we thought that would alienate a lot of our core audience who's gotten used to us being in prime time on weeknights. So we thought that might be a bad idea. So, that's why I've been doing the whole 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern thing over the last couple of weeks to see how it would do. And so far it's done okay. Not great, but okay. Now, over this last week, people have indicated to me that they think this will become a problem, especially if we're going to have more shows, because right now you have Monday Night Football. The fall TV season for people is starting to get going. There's a lot of things going on for people. People are, kids are back in school. Fall's a busy time, and I look every time's a busy time nowadays for people. We all live hectic lifestyles, but if the bulk of our shows during the week are going to be sports shows, okay, forget about the entertainment show and wrestling. If the bulk of our shows are going to be sports shows, and we're going to be going up against big sporting events. If you look at the month of October is probably one of the biggest months in sports. You have the MLB playoffs and eventually the World Series. You have football in play, NHL and NBA start, college football. You have a lot of things going on. It's a sports fan's dream, okay? But I also recognize, too, what that means for us. And going up against MLB playoff games, wild card games, we've done that before. Going up against NBA games later in the month, big deal. No big deal, okay? All right, but going up against Monday Night Football, that's a dicey thing for us. We don't really go up against too many football games. We've gone up against Thursday football. We've gone up against opening night. But those are different animals because this, again, it's one show. And Thursday Night Football, a lot of times, is a bad game. Sometimes Monday Night Football is a bad game, but Monday Night Football is an institution. And, one of the concerns I have with the idea of doing a Monday night show, one of the reasons why we've never done Monday shows or Friday shows, because I just don't think they're good nights to do shows. I've always been fearful of that. Mondays, people are kind of like out of it. They're like, they just went back to work. I always felt like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are the best nights to do shows. Because people are, in the thick of their weeks. They're not too tired, Maybe Thursdays you are a little bit, but, you're there, you're kind of present, and, Friday's the weekend, so you can kind of get through it. So, I've always kind of thought it was dicey to do shows on Mondays and Fridays. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do a show on Fridays, but I did target Mondays. I did want to do shows on Mondays. But I also recognize what is being told to me by a number of people that this might be a difficult thing to do. So there was a suggestion made to me by a number of our fans Do these changes need to be implemented now? Can you wait? Now, look, I made a habit on this show of saying changes are coming, changes are coming, and either delaying them or dropping them altogether. I don't want to make that seem like the case again. But when I have fans coming to me saying that they think we should wait, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, a lot of the people that have listened to us or watched us since day one, and a lot of our audience is people that have done that. Our friends of mine from message boards and everything, they stick by us, they tune in. A lot of you are people that just want us to do well and like this as a forum and like that we talk and speak for you on a number of things and whatnot. The idea is people just want our show to succeed, and I want our show to succeed. And if we're going to embark on this new challenge and try to make this show what I've always wanted to be, which is a show that's got good debate, good discussion, informative, educational, but also a voice for people in a way that, maybe if you don't want to represent your opinion yourself, we somehow vocalize it for you, or we talk about the things you all want us to talk about, which is what we've always done. Also have some fun, also have some guests, to do all the things that I've always wanted to do with this show instead of what we've been doing for the last few years, which is so far from what I want to do. In order to do these things, in order to put our best foot forward and make this a success, it has to have the best chance to succeed. It's like in sports, when you the whole ad is that a coach or a manager has to put their players in the best position to succeed. Well, we have to put our show in the best position to succeed. And as I was getting this information, and I'm not gonna get all crazy about why people waited till the last minute to tell me these things, but maybe it just became more of a reality when I started throwing around October 1st. And people realized, oh crap, he's serious. I don't know, but anyway, when I started getting all this advice from people and this constructive criticism, I started to think about it and say, you know what? There's a number of reasons why putting this off would be a good thing. There's also a number of reasons why putting this off would be a bad thing. The bad thing would be, if we put it off, we're probably looking at not even starting until November. And then the concern you have with that is you're heading into the holidays. And I never, ever like to start anything significant during the holidays. So then if we're putting it off past the holidays, we're waiting until January. Now, that might not be the worst thing in the world, because whenever we haven't started something in the fall or October, we waited till January. And that's a good time to start things. It's a new year. Now you lose football, but you got the football playoffs in January and the Super Bowl. So you got that. You got the height of college basketball. You still got the NBA. You still got enough to talk about. But the other concern is you're starting to head towards March in NCAA basketball and March Madness. And then right after that, you're in the spring and summer. And then, really prime time is the September, October period to start something, get people acclimated to it. So, that's my concern, is that I end up waiting until January and then we lose momentum. I have to restart that momentum again during the holidays, when things can be a little difficult to get momentum because people might be busy with other things and not so much around. But again, like I said, hectic lifestyle is another thing now any time of year. So there are negatives to it, but there also are positives. At the end of October, I will be going away. I will be on a family trip with my wife and her family from October the 25th right on through November the 2nd, November the 3rd, I should say. So we will miss about, if let's say we were doing the new format, we'd probably miss 5, 6, 7 shows. Now, if we had gone ahead with my plan and started on Monday, October the 1st, after 3 weeks, we're already going on a hiatus for about a week. That kind of stalls momentum too, which is why I kind of wanted to start this in the middle of September and maybe give us 4, 5, 6 steady weeks. That did not happen. Too many things were up in the air. And a lot of things still are up in the air, especially I like when I start this, I'd like to have a co-host by my side. I'd like to have that decided. I'd like to have all our ducks in a row. We do not have that. I was content to not have that and start things up and kind of get people into it and kind of ease our way in. But by going to a new host site, by going to a new location and kind of starting anew, you in a way you don't want it to. You don't want to just go into it half-assed. You want it to be complete. You want it to be the whole presentation to be done and perfect, and you want to get started and build momentum right out of the gate. And if we do not have the co-host situation settled, if we do not have all of our ducks in a row and have everything down to a T, and we also have the idea that in 3 weeks' time, right after we get going next week, we're going to be on a hiatus. If we got all that in play, is that really putting us in the best situation to succeed and build momentum? It probably isn't. And a lot of you that were giving me this advice and constructive criticism weren't even noting those things. You were noting the idea that we'd be going up against a lot of things in October. And did I want to really risk going up against several playoff games, in World Series game? Now, look, if we get off the ground, let's say we put this off till November or even January. Look, if we get off the ground, and running, and a year from now we'd have to deal with it again, right? But at least we'd have time to get off the ground, launch everything the right way, and get people involved and interested, so that they'll want to tune in to our show opposite these things, or they'll want to seek us out after that game is over. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just because I'm not worried about the longtime fans to already tune into us. I mean, I'm worried about you all, but I know you're going to tune in. I'm worried about attracting new fans and doing the best we can to make this show as big as we want to be. And if we're going up against this much competition, and everything's not right, we don't stand a chance. So I've thought about it long and hard. And I've decided that we are going to delay the launch of the new show and the new format indefinitely. Now, I'm not ready to announce a new date. It will not be in October, obviously. It would be, if anything, it would be sometime after I return from our hiatus. Now, a number of you would probably say to me, and I'll probably get this mail after the show tonight, wouldn't the hiatus be, after coming back from the hiatus, be a good time? Like, wouldn't that be a great time to start something new? Like, you take a couple weeks off, you come back fresh, and everything's ready to go. Yeah, I can see that. And that's a possibility. But I have to weigh whether starting things at that point with Thanksgiving 2 weeks. Well, Thanksgiving is very early this year. Starting it like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, with the idea that that week we compromise due to the schedule, and then you have Christmas, and do you really want to start something new at that time? I'd have to really weigh that and see if that would work out for us. It is a possibility, but I'm going to be honest with you. If we do not start it right after the hiatus and start it in November, we're probably waiting until January. I will not start it right after Thanksgiving in December. There's just no sense. So what you're looking at right now is either, that Monday after, and again, I recognize we'd be going up against Monday Night Football, so maybe we won't even start on a Monday. Maybe we just start on a Tuesday, which would be our normal, starting time for the starting day for the week. And maybe we do that, and then it makes it easier for people to find us and get acclimated with us, and especially after a hiatus. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know, but you'd be looking at that first full week of November, which is right around election time, as a launch. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot to think about here, and I will think of it. And my goal is to determine and what we're going to be doing here and make a lot of these decisions within the next 7 to 10 days, so that we can inform you all, because really we never really have had this long kind of like, okay, here's the plan, this is what we're doing, detailed thing. I've given you enough for you to all get the gist of it, but I haven't gone, and that's because, like I said, a lot of things are still up in the air, and kind of the whole co-hosting has held us up a little bit too. So like I said, the next 7 to 10 days, I'm going to really hunker down and try to figure this out, and see if we can make some decisions and get a sense of what we're going to be doing, and narrow it all down so that we can, figure everything out. But I just wanted to lead the show tonight with basically the announcement and why I came to this decision. But make the announcement that we're delaying this launch of the new show, the new format of the show, Um, and this is informing you all of that so that you knew. So what does this mean going forward here over these next few weeks? Well, it means we're going to the status quo. We'll still do 2 shows a week like we've been doing. Tuesday will be sports, wrestling. I like the idea of we used to do wrestling with sports. We have so much sports stuff with football. We might as well leave wrestling for Thursdays for right now. So that's what we'll do. So sports will be Tuesday, wrestling and entertainment will be on Thursdays. And we'll do that at least through October. After that, we'll see. I'll keep you all up to date. You might even get a little bit of information on Thursday. Okay, but if you don't, you'll probably get information next week about what's going to be going on. Going on. And for anybody out there that has further advice, suggestions, or constructive criticism, or any ideas in terms of what you think we should do, as far as how to launch everything and what we should do going forward, please don't hesitate to email us or Facebook us or tweet us. I take everything under consideration. I always have. So please do not hesitate to give us your opinion because it could be very, very helpful to us. So that's the state of things as far as where we're going with the show and what is going to be going on going forward. And so, yeah, there you go. And again, end of October, we will have a hiatus starting right around the 25th. The 25th is the day we're going to be leaving, and we'll be back on November the 3rd. So we'll be gone for Halloween during that whole period of time. So, so since we're going to be under the old format at that time, we'll only have the Tuesday show that week. So that Tuesday show, which will be the 23rd, will be our last show before the hiatus. So just note that going forward. All right, so that's the stuff in regards to the show. Again, we'll keep you up to date. We'll give you more information on what the new format will entail, how many shows we're going to be doing a week, how it's all going to work. As I said, we'll be separating a lot of the stuff that we do. The sports show will just be a sports show under a new title. Entertainment show will be its own entity under a new title. Wrestling will be its own entity under a new title. We've let you all in on a little bit of it, but we'll get into more of the specifics and everything else going forward here as we get closer and give you all the dates and all that stuff. All right, so with that being said, let's get down to business. We have a lot to do. Like I said, we have a lot of sports stuff to talk about. We will start off, we'll do the NFL, and then we'll do the Tiger stuff, and then we'll go up into the MLB. So before we get to the crisis, and because I want to do that after we get through all the games and whatnot. First of all, when we started the NFL season a couple weeks ago, I made the point, look, that was a much better week 1 than anything we've seen in the last couple years. And then week 2 was a step back. But it was better than a lot of the stuff we've seen in past week 2s and a lot of the stuff we've seen early seasons in the last couple years. You could still tell this is a glorified preseason because of the way things are done now in the preseason now, You could still tell that teams were rusty, but, that's what the first 4 weeks have always been about, even before the last couple years when the quality of play has stunk coming out of the gate. It's always been about teams gelling, getting kinks out and everything. Now more so, because none of these guys play for each other enough in the preseason, so it's difficult, and you see that in September. It's like Steve Young says, try to get through September 2-2 because September is basically glorified preseason now. So week 1 I thought was a pretty good start considering what the last couple of years have been. Week 2 was a little bit of a drop up, but still not too bad. Week 3, I kind of felt the same way about week 2, but what week 3 did that week 2 didn't was give us some compelling storylines, just like week 1 did, which is what made week 1 interesting. This is why the first 3 weeks of the season are easily more interesting than anything that we've had in the last couple of years because of what could be setting up for us for the league going forward. You start this week off with the Browns beating the Jets. Now, was that a true upset? I guess it's an upset in the case of the Browns, but at the same time, the Browns have shown us in the first 2 weeks that they are a much better team. They almost beat the Steelers in week 1. They tied. They almost won in week 2. If they had a better kicker, they probably would have been 3-0. I'm going to say this too. If Baker Mayfield starts the first 2 games, I think they're probably 3-0 because what Baker Mayfield did in that game against the Jets on Thursday night was magical. That place was up for grabs. He just took this game by storm. 17 for 23, 201 yards, a brilliant performance by the rookie. And really, Cleveland just, look, the Jets, I thought came out pretty strong. I thought Darnold wasn't too bad. I think he forced some things late, but for the most part, I thought in the first half he wasn't bad. And then the Browns have to do what they've done in so far this early season. They struggle a little bit out of the gate, but they kept it close enough with their defense, which is much improved, where their offense can kind of come into its own and make some plays and come back late. And that's what they did in this game. And they come back and win 21-17. I'm telling you right now, the Browns are no longer a bye. The Browns are going to be tough to beat this year. They're not going to be a team. They remind me an awful lot of what we've seen, like Tampa has done in past years against bigger opponents, or what you've seen sometimes, what Tennessee has done, or what the Dolphins have done at times. They're a strong enough team now where if you don't take them seriously, they're going to beat you. And they show that. And the Jets, I think, look, the Jets are a very Jekyll and Hyde team, but that's also the way this league is in the first couple of weeks. You do not have a sense of who any of these teams are. They're still trying to find their footing, gel together, and everything. So it's hard. You can't really go and say, "Oh, the Jets are terrible," or that first week was a mirage against the Lions. You can't really say anything about them or anybody really for that matter because it's early yet. But I think what you can say is Sam Darnold is showing himself to be a rookie, which, happens to the best young quarterbacks. But I also think what you can say about the Jets is that one thing has not changed from the last few years. They're very undisciplined. And the penalties are a problem, and the behavior is a problem, and a lot of it has to be resolved if they're ever going to be a consistent winner in this league. That stuff you can point out right away. But as far as the rest of it, it's yet to be determined. So it was a big win for the Browns, and that gets your weekend started and really just kind of like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then you go into Sunday and you have a couple of rivalry games, Saints and Falcons, which was a game that, was important to both teams to have this game so early in the season. The Saints put up 43 on the Falcons in Atlanta and win 43-37. A game which shows you how much this league, is about quarterbacks and offense now. And this was an overtime game. It was a great game. Back and forth. You like offense, you like this game. And it's a game that both teams wanted to get because it's early in the season. You put your best foot forward and you get a game against your rival. And the Saints get it. And look, one of the things that I think hurts Atlanta here is that you play in a dome. So the Saints are going to come into your building anytime and feel comfortable because that's where they're comfortable, is in a dome. So to me, it's not much of a road advantage against the Saints, but that is what it is. So it's a big win for the Saints, and the Falcons' defense just looked terrible in that game. So you had that kind of rivalry game, kind of an old school rivalry type historical game with the Packers and the Redskins, and a shocking performance by the Packers. And I guess not so shocking if you consider that Aaron Rodgers does not look healthy. He still put up 265 yards and 2 TDs, but he still did not look right. And look, if Aaron Rodgers is not out there, or he doesn't play, or he isn't healthy, the Packers ain't going to win. We've seen that enough times, and they showed that in this game. The Redskins didn't have to deal with a complete Aaron Rodgers, and therefore a complete Packers offense, and add to the fact that the Redskins aren't a terrible team. We saw that in Week 1, and you get a 31-17 victory for the Redskins, and the Redskins did great. Alex was playing great for them. They're solid enough on offense and defense. The Redskins right now kind of remind me of the Bengals and what they were for a few years. Very consistent, solid enough. They're not very flashy, but they get the job done. And that's what they're doing this year. And that's what they did against the Packers. And if I'm the Packers, I'm in a lot of trouble. If Aaron Rodgers ain't healthy, they're in a lot of trouble. So you had that kind of old school rivalry game. You had a game between games between conference rivals like the Titans and the Jaguars, which was an ugly game, probably the ugliest game of the NFL season. But for those that are sick of all the offense and the quarterbacks having everything benefit them, here you go. This game was an old school classic NFL defensive battle, which you would expect the Jaguars to win, but the Titans win at 9-6. Just an ugly game. Look, both defenses were fantastic, But I will say this, not to take anything away from the defenses, the offenses were putrid. So, it's one of those games where the defense might have been good, but the offense didn't do itself any favors either. And that's a big win for the Titans, and that's a big win for that AFC South. Because the Jaguars had gotten off to a great start. They'd beaten the Patriots, they'd beaten the but but then they turn around and lay an egg against the Titans on offense. So it's almost like it brings them back down to earth. So that's a big win for the Titans, a big loss for the Jaguars. Let's see what else. So, you had a nice mix of different kinds of rivalries, old school rivalries, divisional rivalries. And then you had a couple of interesting games, one of which might change the complete scope of a couple of games that might change the complete scope of the season. And again, it's early. And again, you simply just want to get out of September at 2-2. But to me, these games had bigger significance. The Chiefs 49, first of all, Patrick Mahomes. I told you all people were high in Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think anybody will expect this. Another 3 touchdowns. He's got 13 touchdowns and no picks. He was 24 for 38 and 314 yards. To me, he is the next big thing in the NFL. He's going to be up there with Rodgers and the Mannings and Brady. This is the guy that's going to they're going to pass the torch to. This is the guy that's going to carry this league. He's a great kid. He's got a great arm. He's efficient. And that offense is fun to watch. The Chiefs are fun to watch. And they look great. Now, look, they've always had these things, these situations where they start off well, go through a little bit of a drop-off, and then they get back going again at the end, and then they fail in the playoffs. We'll see where this goes, but they're definitely off to a huge start. They rung up the 49ers defense. Now, look, for as much hype as we give the Kansas City offense, their defense has not been great, and their defense was not great in this game. Despite the fact that the 49ers lost their quarterback here, they still were able to put 27 up on the Chiefs. Now, again, you have to be careful with grading defense because the league is running is being very hard on defenses and how they defend against the quarterbacks. But at the same time, you can still look at things enough to know when a defense isn't performing well. And the Chiefs' defense has not been performing well or up to par so far in this season. And it needs to change if they're going to really become a true Super Bowl threat. Right now, they are, to me, the best team in NFL right now. But that's mostly because of their offense. Now, the 49ers got a big blow. What happened to Garoppolo? He's done for the season. I bet you they wish that Teddy Bridgewater was still available and they hadn't gone to the Saints. I don't know what they're going to do here. And you talk about bringing Tom Savage. Look, sort of getting somebody like a Teddy Bridgewater, they're probably not going to win consistently enough to do what I thought they could do this year, which is be a sleeper and maybe make the playoffs. That ain't going to happen now without Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just not. So it's unfortunate, but you know what? You wish him a speedy recovery, and then you just look to next year because the 49ers are going to be good for a while. And this is going to allow them to maybe get a couple more good draft choices and build their team up even more. But that changed the complexion thing because that probably takes the 49ers out of the mix for possibly a wild card spot or a playoff spot in my mind because I thought they were good enough to get one of those. So that was a significant game. Another significant game was the Bills and the Vikings. The Bills, who looked abysmal in their first 2 weeks. Nobody's giving them a chance to pull off one of the biggest upsets in, 23 years and beat the Vikings in Minnesota 27-6. Now, this game had, along with the Clay Matthews stuff, for many people has become an indictment on the quarterback rules and the way the NFL is handling, quarterbacks and defenses. And, this would have never happened if, there wasn't so many rules to protect the quarterback and so many rules against the defense. Oh, look at Josh Allen was allowed to hurdle himself over the defense and do things that no quarterback should be allowed to do because he had no fear because he knew that if a defender tried to hit him a certain way, it'd be a penalty. And look, you can make all the talk. You can talk all you want about quarterback the rules to protect the quarterbacks and all that stuff. It wouldn't change much about this game. The Bills just played better. You can give all the credit. You can go on about their offense and how good Allen was, and he was great. The defense of the Bills was very, very good. Ever since McDermott took over took over the play calling, there's been a significant difference in their defense, much improved. So that helped a lot. And then you have the Vikings on the flip side, who played a terrible, terrible defense. Basically didn't show up, and offensively didn't show up. So what? Again, you can make this about the rules and all this other stuff if you want to, okay? But ultimately, that wouldn't have changed a thing in this game. They got outplayed on defense. They got outplayed on offense. Bottom line. Bottom line. So, no excuses, nothing about rules and all this other garbage. They got beat. And I would be very worried about the Vikings here because they have not looked great, in my opinion, in the first 3 weeks of the season. I know, again, it's early and we talk about this being glorified preseason, but, there's one thing to show rust and one thing for things not to click and this and that. But to basically just play flat out poorly and lay an egg like this, okay, to me suggests that there's a focus problem here. And that's not the typical preseason or early season kind of rut. That's troubling. That's troubling. So to me, this game was significant in that it's good for the Bills to go build their confidence, gets them back into play. But for the Vikings, it shakes your confidence because this team that we all thought could be a potential Super Bowl team scares me for a different reason right now because they don't play like they think they're capable of it. I shouldn't say that. They do think they're capable of it, but they're playing like it's going to be easy week in and week out. They're playing like it's just going to all come into focus for them. It's just going to happen. Their focus isn't sharp, and that's a problem. That is a huge problem. Another game I thought was significant was the Giants and the Texans. Because remember, the Giants are a team, once again, just like last year, I picked to potentially go to the Super Bowl. The Giants looked awful on offense. Their offense has been terrible for, 2 years now? They haven't scored 30 points in, 2 years? They looked awful in the first 2 weeks. Their offensive line continued to show that it hadn't been improved since last year, but they make a little shift. They move Flowers out, and the offensive line does enough, at least in the first half, to give Eli Manning time, and Eli throws for 297 yards, and the Giants do enough in this game to beat the Texans on the road 27-20. Now, it wasn't an overly impressive win, but it was a good kind of workman-like win, just something that you needed to get to kind of say, you know what, we're okay. We are a good team. We can do this. You can build, and this builds your confidence. To me, that was significant because, again, it's like with the Bills. It gets the Giants back on the plate. You don't want to go 0-3 because you can't come back from 0-3. I don't care if it's early season, September, and everything else or not. But you don't want to go 0-3. You need to build your confidence. You needed to prove that the offense can do something. Your offensive line needed to prove that it can do something, and it does that. And it also allows Saquon Barkley to finally break out and do something because there's not going to be any holes. There's not going to be any ability for him to run the football effectively if the offensive line doesn't at least play competent football. And this is the first week in a long, long time. I don't even know how long. At least what? I don't even know last season they ever did. It's the first week in a long, long time, maybe 2 years, that the offensive line played competently enough to allow the offense to do its thing. Now, in the second half, it wasn't as good. It was good enough. It wasn't as good. But again, still got the job done. So a very good workman-like win for the Giants. And now you write off the Texans and that's what that's why this is such a big game. Yeah, it builds the Giants' confidence, puts them in play, but also wipes out the Texans. Because Deshaun Watson does not look right. He's still trying to get his feet on him. He still threw for 385 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he did not look right. Just like with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look right. And if these guys aren't right, these teams aren't going anywhere. So that's why this game was significant on a number of levels. So you have that game. You have the Seahawks putting themselves back in play and knocking the Cowboys back down to earth after they get a win against the Giants last week. I thought the Seahawks played good football. This was a typical Seattle Seahawks type game. Do just enough on offense, 24 points, and then do their usual physical defense. And that's what they did to the Cowboys. They held them to 13, and they win the game 24-13. It's a good win for Seattle to keep themselves in line. And for the Cowboys, it shows you a lot of the same problems that they had in Week 1. Offensive issues. Dak Prescott not, performing very well. Hard to get any points on the board. Their defense does okay enough, but against a physical team, they're just not going to be able to get it done. And that's what showed up in that game. So that game takes on, because any confidence you got in the Cowboys after last week is gone now. And meanwhile, the Seahawks build a little bit of confidence. And then the big game that I thought, and probably the shocker of the weekend, a Detroit Lions team that got blown out by the Jets, the same Jets that have played abysmal for the last 2 weeks, beats the New England Patriots 26-10 on Sunday Night Football. Now, I know New England can be very vulnerable in the first half of the season. And, it's not like the Lions were a terrible team. I thought that even after the Jets lost. I didn't think the Lions have always, in the last couple of years, been a potential playoff team. So it's not like they're a slouch, but they're a team that usually, number one, defensively can't get the job done, and running game wise can't get the job done. Well, they finally had a rusher go crazy in this game, and their defense showed up. Now the Patriots, not to take away anything from the line, but the Patriots offense didn't show up either. Okay. I know they have issues, as far as receivers go. Really, their only big offensive target is Gronk. Rob Gronkowski, they have nothing. So that's problematic for them. That's why they made the trade, but that ain't going to really help them right now. They need a few weeks before that can help them. But really, they don't have enough weapons on offense. So that's one part of it. But the other part of it too is that their defense just did not play well at all. So again, it's early, it's September, it's glorified preseason, yada yada yada. But it's still a disturbing trend for the Patriots. Because if you look around in their division, look, I still think the Patriots are going to be okay here. Okay? But the Dolphins are 3-0. They won again. And again, they could probably fold down as well, but they beat the Raiders 28-20. They're 3-0. The Bills are better, even though they didn't show that in the first 2 weeks. And the Jets are better, even though they haven't shown that in the last 2 weeks. This is not going to be a cakewalk for the Patriots, and they don't always have. And look, they have to play a lot of teams outside of their division as well. So this is not going to be a cakewalk. Every loss you get, and this is what I'm saying. Now, look, you go next week, you win, and you're 2-2. You get out of September, you're fine. Okay, but that's fine. But at the same time, if you have 2 losses, and the rest of your division's better, and then you start racking up losses afterwards, then it's not fine. So I thought that was, that game was doubly significant. It was significant in that the Lions showed you that they're not as bad as they were in Week 1 and Week 2. And the Patriots showed you that maybe this is a year that things might not fall into place for them like it has in years past. Until they get some more offensive weapons, they might be in a little bit of a rut for a while. So to me, that game had a lot of big picture fallout. And those games I just mentioned had a lot of big picture fallout. And there are games outside, even though it's early again, those games had some big fallout to it. Now there are games outside of that. Last night's Buccaneers game where everybody had eyes on Ryan Fitzpatrick. Still true for 411 yards, but kind of came back down to earth through some very Ryan Fitzpatrick-like passes. The Steelers get the win 30-27, a much-needed win for the Pittsburgh Steelers coming off of a tough few weeks here where they tied and lost. Needed that win. Tough loss for the Buccaneers, but they're still at 2-1, so they're still okay. Again, a couple other games. We had the Bears beat the Cardinals 16-14, an ugly type game, but for the Bears, get the job done. You're 2-1. I thought the Chargers could be a sweeper this year, but so far it's been just tough going for them. They lose to the Rams 35-23. The Rams, outside of the Chiefs, have been the second most impressive team. This has been steady. They've been great on both sides of the football. They're going to be a tough out, and they're 3-0. They're going to be a tough one this year. They really are. They really are. So Rams off and running. Ravens beat the Broncos 27 to 14. Broncos have been okay so far. Ravens, in my mind, have just kind of gone about their business quietly here, and you're gonna have to start keeping an eye on them because their defense is back this year, I think. And offensively, I think they're having one of their better years so far coming out of the gate, which again in September, if you're coming out of the gate like that, that means look, you're kind of ahead of the curve when compared to other teams. So the Panthers beat the Bengals 31-21. Big, nice, solid win for the Panthers. The Bengals, kind of a little bit of a grounded moment for them. They kind of come back down to earth a little bit after starting off maybe better than many people would have thought. And you have a game that I thought was kind of like a hidden gem, the Eagles and the Colts. The Eagles win that game 20-16. The Eagles have kind of done that. Yeah, they kind of laid an egg in week 2 against the Bucs. But, this has been what the Eagles have done. They just kind of won ugly. Carson Wentz comes back, throws for a touchdown, 255 yards. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible either. Their defense really just is really doing the job for them. Defense did the job for them. Offensively, they're still trying to find their way, but now that they have their starter, they can work on that over the next couple of weeks here. But as long as their defense keeps them afloat, they'll be okay. Colts, I thought, played a good game, especially defensively. Offensively, I thought the Eagles' defense kind of had their way with them. They're going to have to learn to kind of deal with that kind of physicality and that kind of presence. But I like what I saw. I like what I've seen from the Colts in the first 3 weeks. I really do. Offensively, I think they've done okay. I think defensively, they've been shockingly better than we all could have given them credit for, especially the last 2 weeks. So I think if you're a Colts fan, I think you've seen progress with the Indianapolis Colts. In these next few weeks, I think are going to be interesting to see how much progress they've made because I think it's been kind of early. Like I said, September glorified preseason. It's been kind of hard to tell how far along they've come. But so far, it looks like they've made some significant progress, particularly on defense. So we'll see how that turns out. And I mentioned the Dolphins. They beat the Raiders 28-20. So lots of interesting, compelling storylines. And again, a lot of big picture fallout. The Patriots and what the Bills did and what the Jets did, and the Eagles Colts game, and Packers and Aaron Rodgers' health, and the Giants getting that big win, and the big performances by the Rams and the Chiefs. So lots of significant, compelling type storylines, a lot of big picture fallout coming out of this week 3, and that makes it interesting. Again, these first 3 weeks, week 2 kind of a drop off. Maybe the quality of play isn't particularly great, but it's better than it's been in recent years. And there's a lot of compelling narratives and storylines as we set up here, coming out of the first 3 weeks that we haven't gotten in a few years. So it makes things very, very interesting in my mind. And I thought the quality of play was better this week than last week slightly. So, I mean, I was about on the same level, but slightly better, I thought. So now, you're through week 3. That sets the stage for week 4. And week 4 is usually the cutoff point. All the bumps should be gone. That should be the last week for everybody to kind of gel together and get all the kinks out and just be better. And the quality of play should improve. And then you should be, things should be progressively better after this for your team. The rush should be off. So that's what week 4 represents here this coming weekend. And then after that, the second phase of the season, next 4 weeks are about kind of, all right, let's try to get some separation. Let's try to go forward here. We're all together now. Let's try to win games and become more consistent and just get the job done. And then, after that, the next 4 weeks is the, positioning. Get yourself in a position, for playoffs. And then the last 4 weeks is a stretch run. It's about locking things up. So, that's kind of how it works. And after this week, you'll be entering that second phase. So, how did I do on picks? I had Falcons over Saints. That's a loss. Eagles over Colts will win. Bengals over Panthers, a loss. Giants over Texans, a win. Bucks over Steelers, kind of like my upset pick. I lost out on that one. Jets over Browns, I lost out on. So I had a bad week. I went 2-4 for this week. So terrible, terrible week after getting off to an okay start. 3-2-1 in week 2 and 4-2 in week 1. So not a good start for me at all in terms of the picks overall now, because I've had that really bad week here. I really didn't have a really good first 2 weeks either, but I managed okay, and not this week was kind of like my falling off the cliff week. Um, all right, so like I said, week 4 is kind of that, okay, here we go, end of the first part of the season. And you're going to start week 4 with a potential playoff matchup in the Vikings and the Rams. That's a fantastic game. We'll be picking that game. So here's the rundown of games here as you go into week 4 of the NFL season. This Thursday, the first Thursday night football game on Fox, 8:20 p.m. Eastern, 1-1-1 Vikings on the road at the 3-0 Rams. Got a potential NFC playoff matchup there. Then it's your Sunday games. Here's your 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern games. First on CBS, 2-1 Bengals at the 1-2 Falcons. Then on Fox, you have the 2-1 Buccaneers at the 2-1 Bears. Lions at the 1-2 Lions at the 1-2 Cowboys. 1-2 Bills at the 1-1 Packers. 2-1 Eagles at the 2-1 Titans. 0-3 Texans at the 1-2 Colts. The 3-0 Dolphins at the 1-2 Patriots. The 1-2 Jets at the 2-1 Jaguars. And those are your 1 o'clock games. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Here's your 4 o'clock window games. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. 1-1 Browns at the 0-3 Raiders. 1-2 Seahawks at the 0-3 Cardinals. 2-1 Saints at the 1-2 Giants. 1-2 49ers at the 1-2 Chargers. And your Sunday night football game on NBC, the 2-1 Ravens at the 1-1 Steelers. So a very old school classic rivalry there. And then your Monday night game is the 3-0 Chiefs at the 2-1 Broncos on ESPN at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Now we start to get into some buys here as we head into week 4. Redskins and Panthers both have buys. So lots of interesting games to pick. I'm obviously going to pick that Thursday night game first. A couple weeks ago, this would have been probably a tougher game for me to pick, but this time it isn't. I told you all earlier tonight, I do not like the way the Vikings are playing. I don't like their body language. And now on the road at the Rams, who look like the better team on both sides of the football. I like the Rams here to beat the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to play better because I think they're going to play up to their competition here, but I like the Rams to get the job done. And what I think might be I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think it'll be a convincing win for the Rams because I just don't think the Vikings are in that mode right now. I think something's not right with them. They just do not look right. They do not look like they have not played well in the first 3 weeks of the season. And I don't think that's going to suddenly change in 1 week. So I like the Rams here over the Vikings on Sunday. Let's see here. Now let's go to some of these Sunday games here. Well, let me pick the Sunday night game first because I'm obviously going to pick that game, Ravens and Steelers. Who wouldn't? That's classic rivalry. The Ravens, I've said before, I think they've quietly gone about their business. They look better, especially on defense. Steelers, kind of come alive here offensively. They're kind of coming out of distractions a little bit. I think they're going to be up to play this game. I've liked the way the Ravens have played, but I think the Steelers kind of got some of their mojo back, and the Le'Veon Bell thing looks like it might be soft, and they're going to try to trade him probably. So looks like they're starting to kind of come out of their malaise. But I like the Steelers in this game. With their offense, the way it played last weekend, I tend to trust them more. So even though the Ravens defense I think is much better this year, I like the Steelers here. I think at home with their offense getting going now, I like the Steelers here. Let's pick the Giants and the Saints because that's always a good game. Giants get the Saints at home, which is a much better solution for them. I'm not sure what the weather's going to be, but that could play in the Giants' favor as well. I like what I saw from the Giants last week. If their offensive line can play as well as last week, I think they have a good chance here. Just give Eli time; he can keep up. I think their defense will match up as always. I mean, their defense has always matched up well with the Saints, but I think it'll do okay here. I like the Giants to eke out a home win here. I think they're going to get the rush going on Drew Brees. And again, the Saints playing outdoors and never the same team. So I like the Giants over the Saints on Sunday. Let's see here. Let's pick Chiefs Broncos. I think it's going to be a blowout on Monday night, so I'm not going to pick that Monday night game. We'll pick the Bengals and the Falcons. The Bengals, have kind of been that, like they have kind of gone back to what they used to do, being that solid team that just does, well enough, plays, doesn't really overly overwhelm you or anything like that. Falcons coming off a tough loss. They're at home. Um, you know, let's see if that snaps them back to reality a little bit. They're very tough to beat in their building. I like to think they're going to come back here very strong. So I'm going to go with the Falcons here because, first of all, I think they're better, and second of all, I think coming off the loss could be tough. And I think they're kind of like what the Bengals used to be. They're kind of what the Bengals should aspire to be. They're the flashier, more fundamentally sound, kind of solid team, but they're flashier and they're more athletic and they're more explosive. That's the difference. That's why they have more success. So because of that, and because of this being better, I'm going with the Falcons over the Bengals on Sunday, especially since they're at home. What else here? Let's pick a couple here. Now, I don't want to call that Dolphins-Patriot game. Let's do Jets-Jaguars. Jaguars coming off a tough loss to the Titans where their offenses could not get going. Jets coming off 2 tough losses in a row. They've been, again, we talked about how they lack discipline and how they make a lot of mistakes and penalties. They're going to have to get it together against the Jaguars. I think it's going to be a very close game. Actually, the Jets defense has been good. I think they'll do their job here. The Jaguars defense obviously speaks for itself. I think this will be, again, another low-scoring kind of affair, which favors really both teams. But I like the Jaguars here, but I think this could be a very close game. I think it's going to be a very kind of, very physical type defensive-minded game. But I like, and I think, again, while it favors both teams, the Jaguars is better. And they're, again, at home as well. So you put those two factors in there, you have to go with the Jaguars, I think. So Jaguars over Jets. And one more pick to make here. One more pick to make. I don't want to pick that game. I just don't like that game. I don't even know if I like the Lions. Cowboys, it almost seems too easy. No, let's just do it. Lions, Cowboys. Lions coming off a very big win. Cowboys coming off a tough loss. Cowboys have the better defense. Lions have the better offense. Something's got to give here. Cowboys are at home. Home court, home field is oftentimes a big impact for me. I also think that the fact that their defense is better usually means better thing because that usually ends up mattering more than the fact that you have the better offense. You have a more explosive offense because defense can hold down a good offense. And I think the Cowboys have enough of a defense where they can hold the offense of the Lions down enough where they can maybe outscore them and win the game. So I think the Cowboys make this a little bit of a grittier game, and I think they beat the Lions, not by much, but I think they beat the Lions to eke out a win at home against Detroit. So these are my 6 picks for Week 4 of the NFL season. Rams over Vikings, Steelers over Ravens, Giants over Saints, Falcons over Bengals, Jaguars over Jets, and Cowboys over Lions. Those are your picks for Week 4 of the NFL season. Obviously, look back at those picks and then look back at all the games next weekend. And, of course, look ahead to Week 5 of the NFL season. So I think it should be an interesting Week 4. Lots of interesting matchups. And, again, the quality of play should just steadily improve from here. Teams should be starting. This is the last week of that kind of like get together period, gel together period. Just go out and play, figure it out. Get the kinks out. This should be the last week of that, and then you go into that second half of the season where you're about kind of this winning games and kind of making a push and getting yourself in to that point where you're going to try to position yourself for the playoffs. So this is kind of like that transitional week and get out of that early season and into the season proper and get going and in the right direction. So it's kind of a transition weekend. There's some interesting games, as I mentioned. So should be a good weekend, I think, a very good weekend. Now let's talk about the NFL crisis before we do college football and then Tiger and all this other stuff. We talked about the Clay Matthews thing in passing last week. The hit that he made on the quarterback last week was not It was not dirty. It was not a bad hit. But the NFL has doubled down, said it was, and this is the way it is. These are the rules. Da, 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 da. All right. And then you've heard a lot of people over the last week. There was a lot more penalties called this week that people didn't agree with, and the same kind of thing. Well, now it's basically resulted in people in the media, including former players, saying, you know what, why you can't play defense anymore. You can't hit anybody. You can't hit the quarterback, particularly the quarterback. This is out of control. It's gone from again I think, and the one thing I think needs to be said here. It's not that people don't want player safety and that they don't want the NFL to look out for the safety of the players. Okay. But here's the thing, the very nature of football, and this is what I think everybody's trying to say. The very nature of football is it's a physical contact game. You will get hit. Hitting is part of the game, which means injuries are going to happen. And here's the thing that I think needs to be mentioned. Injuries happen even without contact. We've seen more guys get hurt from non-contacting. Galafaro's leg just crumpled. Nothing was done to make that happen. And I mean, and here's the other thing. You got guys getting hurt, defensemen getting hurt, okay? Players on defense are getting hurt, trying to stop themselves from doing something while going after the quarterback. You're stopping suddenly and causing them to hurt themselves. So you're causing injuries and issues to player safety with the rules that you're creating for the quarterback anyway. So what good is it? You've gone to, again, with the NFL, they just can't seem to get anything right. It's one extreme or the other. It's either we do not have anything, or now we go to the other extreme, we have too much, and it makes the game intolerable. People are tuning out of the game because they don't recognize what it is anymore. When you thought football, I mean, you're taking a big part of the game out, which is the physicality of football. And yes, it's painful and it can be dangerous, but that's the nature of football. I mean, I know in hockey they have pads, but so they do in football. People play hockey, they get checked into the board. You can still get hurt in hockey, but no, they don't change the game with that. Even hearing guys over the last couple of days say the more safe you try to be, the more likely injuries are to occur. You see that in baseball all the time. I mean, look at how easy. Look at baseball. All the stuff that they do with pitchers now. Oh, watch their innings, watch how much they throw, watch this, watch that, and guys are still having Tommy John surgery. Guys are still getting hurt. Same thing with the players, the rest of the players. Oh, let's give these guys more time off. Well, they're still getting hurt. So what good is it? What is it doing? What is it doing? I mean, you're doing these rules to protect the quarterback. I understand the NFL's probably like, oh, we protect the quarterback. There's higher scoring games. It does well for fantasy. It does well for team. People like offense. Look what they do in base. Yes, people like offense, but they also like the good defensive games too. They also like it to be balanced and fair. And it's not balanced and fair if a guy on defense cannot properly play defense. If you can't hit the quarterback without people just looking at him and going, wow, that was a bad hit. It can't be like that. You have to be allowed to play defense. You have to. I don't want. I mean, you got guys on defense that are sitting there overthinking every single thing that they do because they're too afraid that they do something. If they do something that's it. That it's going to screw the team and we're going to get a penalty, and then it's going to f up everything. You can't have that. We can't have guys thinking as much as they are on the field and not being able to play the game they love in a natural, genuine, fun way. Sure, be safe, but we know how close are we right now to having it just be where the quarterback's going to have a flag attached to him, and you just pull the flag off. You can't hit him at all. I mean, this is ridiculous. When you have former players in the media complaining and saying the league looks like a joke. They're being pathetic. What does that say? They went from one extreme, which was no concern for safety, to the other extreme, which is so concerned that you're not letting guys play defense and you are drastically changing the game to the point where it's unrecognizable and it becomes such a different entity that people are not going to want to watch it. And what is it with the NFL that every year they have to have something like this? Last year it's the national anthem controversy. The year before it's the strike and the referees, and I mean, and now this year this. I mean, can't you just ever have the focus on the field and I mean, come on, get your crap together and get ahead of things. Be progressive. Get ahead of things and be like, you know what, we're straying too much. You know what, we shouldn't be doing it. Think about these things and the impact they had before you institute them. Dumb. I've never seen a pro sports league shoot themselves in the foot more than the NFL on a number of things. They think they're so invincible, and they're not. We've seen the ratings go down. We've seen that. But they still think they're invincible enough, that they're impervious enough, that they can get away with being freaking stupid. Because because they think that they know better, and that in the long run, people are just going to drop it and go along with it. And for the most part, they're right. Because even if the ratings go down, people are still in the seats. They're still sitting there watching the football game. And the league is still making a crap ton of money. So they can go laughing to the bank at the end of the day because that's still the reality. I've never been a big football fan. Never. Never been my sport. Never been my thing. But I'm a sports fan, and I've grown to like football. I've grown to like watching football. And I've watched enough football, a lot of past games, enough games over the last 10, 15 years that I've been actively watching it to know that this is not football. And no, I don't want guys being able to take guys' heads off. I don't want that. But you're going too far, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And apparently they're going to try to address it. We'll see what they do, because whenever they address something, they tend to make it worse, but we'll see. But it is a crisis, and they have to be careful here, or they risk alienating their fans more, and their former players more, because they're all pretty pissed off. No offense, because I know there's some people out there that like the way that the NFL is going, and that's fine. You're entitled. If you're okay with this, to all your power. But if you're a football fan, you shouldn't be okay with it. You shouldn't be, because it's not the game. It's not. Speaking of the game, if one of the things I've heard from people that watch college football is that they like it because they don't feel like there's as many penalties, and they feel like it's still got that pure football feel. Yeah, yes, a lot of the stuff is still kind of gone through there, but it doesn't feel quite the same. It still feels like it should feel. So let's talk some college football, because again, the NFL stuff, that the stuff I just mentioned, we're going to be talking about ad nauseum over the next few weeks. It's going to be one of those NFL deals that we're going to be talking about all season, I think, which sucks, because it's always one of those things that you have to talk about all season that strays from the on the field stuff. But I guess it technically has to do with on the field, but still. But anyway, college football, which again, I'm always reluctant to talk about early in the season because there's not usually a lot going on with college football. But this weekend we had some upsets. we had some interesting things happen. First of all, allow me to have a little bit of a homer praise here for a second. Our Syracuse Orange around here is doing really good things. I look, they're favored this week, but still, I mean, they're going into Clemson this Saturday unbeaten, which is shocking for them. That's going to be a game of interest because if Syracuse can somehow pull that off at noon on ABC on Sunday, this coming Saturday, I should say, then first of all, they're going to be ranked, and then you're going to start thinking about them having some kind of special year. But they would have already knocked off Florida State and Clemson. Now, look, Florida State might not end up mattering because they might just be that bad this year. But to knock off Florida State and then knock off Clemson for the second year in a row, that'd be huge for them. That'd be a road game. So you would probably see Syracuse shoot up into the top 15 right out of the gate if they beat Clemson. That's a big game for the Syracuse program on Saturday. Because they get that done, they go not only they go to 5, but I think they will be in the top 15 rankings next week, just in time a week or two before the playoff rankings come out. That'd be huge for them. So that's in the game to keep an eye on Sunday. And not just because I'm a homer and I'm trying to prop up our team. It's just significant. But before we get to talking about week 5, let's look back at week 4, because again, that reason why I'm pushing to talk about this is because for the first time this season, you had some interesting, shocking upsets, or upset, I should say, because there's one significant one coming out of week 4 that I think could really change the big picture here. Well, first of all, Alabama beat a very tough Texas A&M team, 45-23. Again, a lot of the big teams won, no issue. Stanford beats Oregon 38-31 in what was probably the best college football game of the season in my mind. Very solid game. Overtime game, good classic game. But the big shock, Old Dominion beating Virginia Tech 49-35. First of all, Old Dominion hasn't won a game. You all know where the program has been. And with everything that's going on with Florida State, to see Virginia Tech lose a game like this, it's shocking. And look, Virginia Tech, number 13 in the country, they did not play well. And they just got, again, not taking it seriously, they just got beat. So, this is first of all, it's a shock. Second of all, it changes things because you sit there and wonder what's going to be the state of the ACC. Virginia Tech loses, Florida State's not is struggling. Where are you going with the ACC this year? So that's a huge, huge game there. Kentucky also beats Mississippi State. You have to start to wonder about Kentucky to beat Mississippi State 28-7. Remember, that's like the Old Dominion Virginia Tech game. These teams, these upsets, yeah, they were upsets, but at the same time, these teams were beaten handily. These favored teams were beaten handily. Texas Tech beats Oklahoma State 41-17. Again, beats them handily. Texas beats TCU 31-16. Now they're out 2-2, so who knows where they're going to be going. Again, that's beating a team handily. So several upsets in my mind, some bigger than others, and so a couple big shockers here that I think, going forward, you're gonna want to keep an eye on some of these teams that pulled off those shockers, and look at the teams that were upset and see where they're going to go, because this could drastically impact their season and where things go going forward. And then that sets us up for week 5. As I mentioned, the Syracuse-Clemson game, a huge game. West Virginia, Texas Tech also at noon on ESPN2. That's a huge game as far as the big picture goes for the playoffs. Oklahoma's going to have a tough test from Baylor at 3:38 on ABC. Interesting game there. Ohio State, Penn State is one of your nightcap games on ABC at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Huge game as they're both unbeaten. Stanford, Notre Dame, both unbeaten, 7:30 p.m. Eastern NBC. Big, big, big game. Big game. BYU, Washington, big game in primetime, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox. That's a big game. Ole Miss will be playing LSU at 9 o'clock on ESPN on Saturday. That's a big game because Ole Miss is going to give LSU a test. And then the nightcap on Fox Sports 1 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Another game I think will be very, very good. Oregon, 3-1, number 19 in the country. Number 24, California, 3-0. lots of big games on Saturday I think are going to go a long way towards, putting some teams in some good positions for the playoff rankings, which are about, 2 or 3 weeks away. Now, see, this is where I start to look at college football. I'm not quite there yet. Usually it's right around the time the playoff rankings come up, but because of the upsets the last week and because of some of the big games you got coming out into play this week, it's starting to look a little bit early because I think the stage is set here for some interesting shifts here as you head into the next couple of weeks here as you approach the first playoff rankings being released. So very interesting. I think some very, after the upsets last week, some big and some just some solid upsets. So that's the stage for what I think is going to be an interesting week of college football this week. And then, of course, next couple of weeks here as you approach the first playoff rankings. If you were to ask me about some picks here as far as this weekend goes, I always throw out picks. I don't record them, but I always throw out picks for some of the bigger games just to kind of add something to the segment because we kind of rush through college football. But I like Oregon to beat California. I think it'll be a very close game. LSU, I think, will survive Ole Miss. I think that would be a close game. I actually like I think Washington will beat BYU, but I think that'll be another close game. Keep an eye on that one. I like Stanford to beat Notre Dame. I think I like Stanford to beat Notre Dame. Not by much, but I think they'll do it. I think Penn State will beat Ohio State. Not by much, but I think they'll do it. Let's see, what else? I think Oklahoma will survive Baylor. I think that would be a little bit of a scare for them. And I like I don't know if I want to. You know what? I'll go with it. I'll pick Texas Tech to beat West Virginia. I like the way they played last week, Texas Tech. I'll pick Texas Tech over West Virginia. West Virginia's only a 3.5-point favorite. I think I can see that, especially at home. So I like that game as an upset. So I think there may be a couple upsets on the board on Saturday. And again, some good games. And then Syracuse Clemson, I'm not going to pick because I don't want to jinx anything, but that's a game worth watching. Clemson's a 24-point favorite at home. So, and they want revenge. They got beaten in the Dome last year. So we'll see what happens there. So some interesting college football games. Should be an interesting week here. And again, with a couple weeks to go before the first playoff rankings, I think college football gets a little bit with the upsets last week and what's on tap this week. I think college football gets interesting, far more interesting a little bit earlier this year because of the way things are set up. So, all right. So we'll see how things go. It should be interesting. Before we get to the baseball, Tiger. Let's do a little bit of golf. I had no idea that this weekend would be significant for the PGA Tour because even though it was the Tour Championship and a lot of big names in the tournament, and it's not a major, it's not something that people think about. People are moved on to football. For most part, the golf stuff's over into the Ryder Cup, and then that's kind of something that people just kind of follow until it gets interesting on Sunday. For all intents and purposes, people have left golf now. It's like, okay, we'll see you again around the Masters in April, right? Well, lo and behold, we get to Thursday, and Tiger puts up a good number, and oh yeah, okay, Tiger's leading a tournament. Okay, well, it's day one. Well, then Tiger puts up another number on Friday. Oh, Tiger's still leading. All right. Fast forward to Saturday. Tiger puts up another great number, and he's leading, 3 going into Sunday? All of a sudden, people are like, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute now. Now Tiger's leading. So now, all of a sudden, the whole world of sports is interested on an NFL Sunday in golf, in a tournament that usually doesn't get much play at all or focus at all. And it's not a major. I mean, it's not. I won't call it a tournament that doesn't factor. Actually, the Tour Championship. Well, it's the end of the FedEx Cup. But it's I mean, it's not a major, but I don't think it's something that's not really, important either. It's one of those kind of outside the major tournaments that I think kind of falls into something that's, relatively notable, but not very significant. It's like the pre-Ryder Cup type primer, But that doesn't take away from how big this was. And I think that's what people see. Oh, it's well, it's not just about majors either. It's about Tiger getting wins. He's trying to, get the PGA Tour wins record as well, not just major records. And at this point, I think if you're a Tiger fan, if you're Tiger Woods, you just want to get wins. You haven't won since 2013 a tournament. Well, he goes into Sunday, he has the lead, and he took care of business. And Tiger wins the Tour Championship wire to wire. That's significant. I don't care if it's not a major. I don't care if it's a tournament that doesn't usually get play. That's a significant thing. For him to lead wire to wire, to play golf consistently that well for 4 days, which he hasn't done since he's gotten back. I can't remember the last time Tiger played that well for 4 days straight. Had to be at his peak. So Tiger wins that tournament, gets his 80th PGA Tour win. Huge, huge, huge. He goes from I think he's like 117th in the beginning of the season to 11th ranked in the world or close to it. Down the Ryder Cup. Everything falls into place for him, and he goes into next season on the tour with so much momentum. And here's the other thing. Oh, well, you want to be on the camp. Well, he hasn't won. It wasn't a major yet. But here's the thing. He wins this tournament going wire to wire, 4 good days of golf, on the heels of the PGA Championship playing well, on the heels of playing well in the Open Championship, and not playing overly bad in the U.S. Open and the Masters. Tiger was competitive all season long. And as the season went on, he got better and better and better. He had a chance to win the final 2 majors of the year. He ends up winning the last notable tournament of the year. That's momentum. That's showing you that he is back. He's back physically. He's almost there mentally. To me, he will not be fully there mentally until he wins a major, but he's almost there. And to me, he can take a lot out of this tournament and the way he played in the last 2 majors combined. He combines all that. He can say, you know what? It's there. It's still in there. If I go into the next major, and carry these experiences in with me, I think I can do this. He has confidence now. He has a little bit of his swag back. He looks like a much different player physically. As long as he stays healthy, I think he'll do it. I think he'll win a major next year. Will he win the Masters? I don't know. I think he's going to win a major next year for sure. I really believe that now. I didn't think that. I've been saying all season long this year that I thought he was playing better. But I'm convinced now he will. I am convinced of that. And how great is this for the PGA Tour that next year you go in with this momentum of what Tiger did in the last couple months of the year? You're going to go into next year, all eyes on you because of what Tiger's doing. Tiger has brought golf back again on an NFL Sunday. People were watching the Tour Championship, a tournament that really is notable, but not something people paid attention to. People were watching that against football. That's the importance of Tiger Woods. That's what he does. You saw the media going crazy. You saw the way the crowd was going crazy. He lights the game up. It was huge what was going on Sunday. It was huge. Now I don't understand the level of I really don't get why people go that crazy over it. But at the same time, it's happened since he came on the scene, so I'm kind of used to it by now. It is a little over the top, but you know what? I think now, especially, people are, he wasn't always rootable, but what he did in golf was so revolutionary and so different. But everything that happened with Tiger and his fall from grace, and now it's a redemption story, which adds to it, makes it even more relatable to people, makes him rootable. So now it's not just about his talent, how good he is, and how great he is for the game, and how different he is for the game. Now you got the relatability factor and the likability factor and the rooting value. That makes it even bigger. And if you're the PGA, you're in your glories because next year all eyes are going to be on you. Your lightning rod for attention is back. They've been dreaming of this. Now to go along with the Phil and the Rory and the Jordan Spieth, you got the big name Tiger Woods back. The ratings are going to be off the charts next year. And you just hope he stays healthy. You hope he stays healthy. that was a huge win for Tiger Woods and his legacy, and a huge win for the sports world, a huge win for the PGA Tour. Now I'm going to say is next year in the PGA, it's going to be a hell of a roller coaster year. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Again, I still feel like again some people are over the top of, but it still was a lot of fun to watch that on Sunday. To see him play like that, it took you back. It really did. It really did. It was something to watch. It really was. It was amazing. And again, I don't want to go goggle over it like some other people are, but it was amazing. It was very significant, and it's a good sign for the PGA Tour. All right, let's do some baseball. Last week of the regular season, unfortunately, as I said earlier, for the MLB, a lot of the races have been settled. You know, I mean, unlike the last couple of years, it took a while longer to get peter out, but it did peter out. You're pretty much down to the NL wild card at this point, I would think. I mean, unless the NL West somehow shifts the next 2 days. But really, everything is settled. The Red Sox have clinched the division. The Yankees have clinched the wild card. You know, and they've won the last 2 games since the race. They're pretty close. I think their match number is 3 to clinching the home field for that wild card game. So you know that might and if you know that almost looks like a formality now. Oakland has clinched the wild card spot. Houston's close to clinching the division. They're up 5. I think they could even do it tonight if Oakland lost, I believe. Cleveland's clinched the division. So everything in the AL is pretty much settled at this point. In the National League, Braves have clinched the division. The Phillies just completely fell off the map the last couple weeks. They played terrible baseball, just terrible baseball. They're at 500 now. And they've allowed the Nationals to jump them, which I didn't think was possible, but they have. But both those teams are out of it. The Braves have the division well in hand. The Cubs only up a game and a half on the Brewers. But again, I don't game and a half. What 5 games left tonight? You know, now the Cubs are losing right now, and the Brewers are winning big. So I guess technically that race isn't totally over because that holds, and they're only a half game out. So I guess maybe you got 2 races left. So it's not quite petered out. So there might be 2 races left in play. And the same thing goes for the Dodgers and the Rockies. The Dodgers are up a game and a half on the Rockies. Let's see. The Dodgers are tied with the Diamondbacks 2-2 right now. Rockies are winning 10-3 on the Phillies. So if let's say the Dodgers lose and the Rockies win, and that's a half game. So I guess okay. So it's not all said and done in the NL, but you know, with 5 games left or 4 games left after tonight, even a game and a half lead is kind of tough. It is. So you know, so I guess they won't rule those races out. The only race that's really over in the NL is the NL East, but. You know, I mean, you got to give the Cubs and the Dodgers a fairly good chance of getting the job done here. Either way, both those teams are more than likely taking playoff spots because even if they fall out of the division, they're going to be in the wild card because everybody else has dropped too far back. The Diamondbacks are 9 out of the division. You know, so it's really down to as far as the NL Central, it's down to either the Cubs or the Brewers. And the NL West, it's down to the Dodgers and the Rockies. The Diamondbacks aren't going to take that. And then as far as the wild card goes, you know, you got if one of those division leaders I just mentioned falls out, then they'd be in play for the wild card. But otherwise, you know, the Brewers are up 3 on the Cardinals, who are the second wild card. The Rockies are a half game out of that. That's it. So it's the Rockies, the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Dodgers. 5 teams for what? 4 spots? One of them's going to be left out. And they're all playing about the same level, 6-4, 5-5 type baseball. I think the Brewers are going to make it. The Brewers are up 3 games in the wild card, so the Brewers are going to make it, and so are the Cubs. They're going to make it. Okay. So I would put those two teams in. It doesn't matter who wins the division and who wins the wild card. Okay. Um, the question is Dodgers, Rockies, or Cardinals. I think the Dodgers probably have a good chance at that division. So I ultimately I think it's going to come down to Rockies and Cardinals. And right now, the Cardinals are not playing their best right now. They've kind of they had that hot streak for a while and they've kind of fallen off. The Rockies have kind of been back and forth, and the Rockies, you're going to look at the schedules here over these next few days here. Let's see. Okay, we got the Tuesday games here. Tomorrow, let's see. Brewers at Cardinals again. So, Brewers kind of controlling their own destiny with that. Let's see here. Because looking at the NL, because that's where a lot of things will be decided. Pittsburgh at Chicago again, but Cubs every win gets them closer. Philadelphia at Colorado again. So the way Phillies are playing, you figure Rockies have a good chance to win that game. Dodgers at Arizona, so it's tough for them. And then Thursday, Philadelphia, Colorado. So again, Colorado has a little bit of advantage. Their way Phillies playing Cubs, Pittsburgh at the Cubs. So let's see here. What's the weekends for these teams? I want to see what their schedules are like on Friday. St. Louis at Chicago. So that might end up playing a big role in terms of deciding things. Detroit at Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's going to make it because the schedule plays incredibly to their hands. Washington at Colorado. You know what? I think St. Louis could be the odd one out because St. Louis has the tougher schedule. They're playing Milwaukee and then they're playing the Cubs. And the Cardinals are rivals. Cubs are going to try to knock them out. And Milwaukee gets to play the Phillies, who just are mailing it in right now. I mean, you figure Colorado's winning big tonight. Milwaukee's winning big. Okay. Colorado wins the next two games. He goes 1-1 the next two games. You're asking a lot of St. Louis, and look, St. Louis I don't think even plays on Thursday. Yeah, I don't like St. Louis's chances. I think that they got the tougher schedule. I think this is going to end up being. I think the Cubs will hang on and win the division. Brewers get the top wild card. They're already up 3 on that. Look, the Brewers win tonight, and they win tomorrow. It's over. They would get the first wild card. They clinched that. Hell, they might even get the division yet. And on the flip side, the Cardinals, if the Rockies keep beating the Phillies, they could clinch this thing up on Thursday. So, yeah, I think the Rockies end up being the second wild card. I think the Cardinals go home. It would be Milwaukee or the Cubs as the top wild card, and whoever doesn't win the top, is the NL Central champion or the top wild card. And I think the Rockies will take the second wild card. I think the Dodgers win the division. The Cardinals, who I thought, the way they've been playing and how hot they were a foregone conclusion to make it. I don't think they're going to make it. Based on, I just don't see it. They're playing a tougher schedule. So let's look at the scenarios here, because the playoffs will start in a week from tonight. The NL wild card game will be on Tuesday on ESPN. The AL wild card will be on Wednesday on TBS. The AL wild card matchup is set. It will be the Yankees and the A's. Right now, it looks like it'll be the Yankees hosting that game. The Tuesday wild card game for the NL looks like it could end up being the Brewers and either the Rockies or the Cardinals. Of course, the Cubs could also fall into that place as well. We'll see what we get. I can't make heads or tails of it. If it's the Yankees and A's, I favor the Yankees because I think they'll, in that kind of setting, they'll thrive with the bullpen and everything. But who knows? The NL wild card, whether it's the Brewers or the Cubs, I think they'll win that game. Because if it's the Rockies, I mean, unless it's the Cardinals, then I think it's an even game. But I'm assuming it's going to be the Rockies because I think the Cardinals is got the tougher schedule. If it's the Rockies and they're not at home and they're playing the Cubs or the Brewers, I like the Cubs or the Brewers better. I think they'll beat the Rockies. Now, for those wondering, the NLDS would get underway on Thursday. The NLDS would get underway on Thursday. With both of their series. And then they would have their game 2s on Friday as well. And game 3s for both series would be on Sunday. And then game 4s on Monday and Wednesday. So the whole thing would be over by Wednesday, October 10th at the latest. The ALDS would get underway on Friday, October 5th. With both series as game 1s and game 2s would be on Saturday. Game 3s on Monday the 8th. And then game 4 on Tuesday the 9th. And then game 5s, if necessary, on Thursday the 11th. So by Friday, October 12th, you're already on the League Championship Series, which will play its game 1. NLCS game 1 will be on Friday, October 12th. Game 2 on the 13th. Game 3 on the 15th. Game 4 on the 16th. Game 5 the 17th. Game 6 would be on if necessary, on the 19th. And 20th would be game 7. ALCS. Game 1 would be on October the 13th, a Saturday. Game 2 on the 14th. Game 3 on Tuesday the 16th. Game 4 on Wednesday the 17th. Game 5 on Thursday the 18th. Game 6 on Saturday the 20th. Game 7 on Sunday the 21st, which would set up the World Series start on Tuesday, October the 23rd on Fox. Game 2 of that series would be on October the 24th. Game 3 on the 26th. Game 4 on the 27th. Game 5 on the 28th, Game 6 and Game 7 on the 30th and 31st, of course, Halloween, respectively. So the whole thing, bang, would be over with by November 1st, which is great. The only other thing I like is that there's none of that Game 1 and then there's an off day and then Game 2. I like that they did that. I like that it's Game 1, Game 2, then a day off. Game 3, 4, 5, then a day off. I like that they did that this year. That's the way it should be. So good for them. That's the way MLB should do it, and I like that they did. Couple score updates. I mentioned in passing some scores tonight. I'm only going to do the playoff ones that matter here. The Milwaukee Cardinal game just went final. Milwaukee beats the Cardinals 12-4. So that's good stuff for them here. Here in terms of their playoff standing. Top of the 8th, the Pirates lead the Cubs 6-0. That's big because Milwaukee's already won. They can move to within a half game of the Cubs for the division. Bottom of the 8th in Colorado. Colorado leads the Phillies 10-3, so looking like they're going to take that game. Top of the 7th in Arizona. This game on ESPN 2-2. The Diamondbacks and Dodgers tied. Oakland is leading Seattle 6-5 as they go to the 5th. That game's significant in terms of whether they want to try to have a miracle happen and catch the Yankees for home field in the AL wild card. Not very likely, but there's still a chance there. Yankees have already won their game today 9-2 against the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's see, anything else? I think that's all the significant games. So yeah, that's where you're at with that. And as far as magic numbers go, and I'm looking at the clinching tracker so I can give you all some accurate numbers here. Okay, so I'm going to look up the match numbers just so I can give you all that information here. I like to be accurate. Okay, here we go. This is as of September 25th. This is updated at 10:45 Eastern time. So, all right, so nothing to talk about in the AL. Except for the AL wild card, which I think the match number is at 3 right now. If the Oakland A's lose, it'd be down to 2 for home field in that game for the Yankees. All right, the Cubs' magic number before today to win the division was 5. It was 2 to eliminate the Cardinals, 5 to clinch against the Brewers. The Brewers have won. The Cubs are on pace to lose. So that number will likely not change. The Dodgers' magic number to clinch the NL West is 5 over the Rockies. They've already eliminated the Diamondbacks. So the Dodgers tied at 2 right now. The Rockies have already won. So if the Dodgers do not win, that number will not change. NL wild card right now. Let's see what the magic numbers are for those. Okay. All right. So I'm just trying to find the magic numbers here. Okay, so it looks like the Rockies' magic number to clinch. Okay, not the Rockies, I should say. Um, the Brewers' magic number to clinch a wild card is 2. The Dodgers' magic number to clinch either the division or a wild card. So clinch it's 5. Okay. The Brewers' magic number to clinch the first wild card is 3, and the second wild card is 2. So they clinch a playoff berth if they win tonight and the Rockies were to lose, which isn't going to happen. Or the Cardinals too, of course. The Cardinals have a magic number of 5 to claim the second wild card. And the Rockies of 6. So that's where you're at with that. So again, this was earlier today. I think this was updated this morning. So update at 11:45 p.m. So it is updated. So yeah. It's looking like the Brewers are set. And the Dodgers and the Cubs are set. It's at that last spot, Cardinals or Rockies. That's really what it's going to come down to. And again, I favor the Rockies because the Cardinals have the tougher schedule. So that's really all that's left on the table to be decided. Again, the NL West and the NL Central is going to get tight after tonight because the Brewers have won. The Cubs look like they're going to lose. So that's going to probably be a half game. And then the Dodgers and the Rockies could get tight again. If let's say the Dodgers lose because the Rockies have already looked like they're going to win, so that could get tight too. So those races are still up for grabs. Of course, if you're the Rockies, you're like, hey, we win the division, then we get out of the wild card game. So there's some significance to that. So we have the NL wild card, and we have the NL West and the NL Central still up kind of for grabs. So there's some, it hasn't totally petered out. It petered out on the American League side, but we kind of figured it would after the last couple of weeks. So. But the NL, it's kind of held up its end of the bargain. a little bit. So it's better than the last few seasons where by the time we got to the last week of the season, it was about positioning. At least there's some things going on that look like they could go down to at least the last weekend. So it's better than what than what we've had the last couple of years. So it should be an interesting weekend in that regard in terms of some of this NL stuff. So we'll see how it all goes. But right now, I would say I would favor the Rockies for that last spot because of the schedule. I think it benefits them much more at this point. So yeah. So it should be an interesting last week of the season. There's a lot of, you worry about injuries and you worry about those kind of things. You want to keep people healthy, but you also have to play to secure things too. So it's kind of like that balance of things. But it should be interesting here with the after tonight, it'll be the last 5 games for most teams, or 4. And then next week got the wild card games. We'll be on opposite the NL wild card game next Tuesday. And then we'll also be on up against the NLDS start next Thursday. So it should be a fun playoffs this year, I think, for sure. And again, that if over the last week, a lot of these teams did what they needed to do. The Braves secured things, the Phillies fell off the map. The Dodgers have done what they need to do lately. The Cubs have done what they need to do lately for the most part. The Brewers have done what they need to do. Rockies are staying hanging in there. Cardinals are kind of it's a little bit downward, but they're kind of hanging by a thread. So over this last week, teams have done at least enough to hang around as far as the teams that are still in play, waiting to clinch something. And Oakland handled their business; they clinched. The Yankees clinched. So a lot of teams have handled their business, but some haven't, or some have done enough to at least hang in there. So that's the name of the game this time of year. It's the name of the game. So, all right. With that being said, it's almost midnight, so we probably should wind down. That's what we're going to do right now. That is it for tonight. We got through everything. As always, the show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to the show. Continue to have your voice heard, and your feedback, your questions, especially about what we're going to be doing with the show going forward. Any questions about the show, scheduling the show, topic ideas, or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, wrestling wants to cover, reactions, comments, opinions, things we talked about on the show, anything we said. All these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. To search In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and make sure you like our fan page once you find it, or once you're on, so you can interact with us and have fun with us and all that good stuff. Again, we encourage you to follow us on social media so you can get the latest information about our show, any postponements, delays, cancellation, any other important information, as well as any other random thoughts that we happen to post on our social media. To have access to all that and more and be able to interact with us, again, you want to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything to tweet in regards to the show. And again, on Facebook, to search In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us and all that good stuff. 2 ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 401, and you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015, all after tonight's current episode. This episode is available for you to stream anytime you want. Just head over to Google Plus and YouTube and search In the Spotlight 411. If streaming is not your thing, maybe you prefer to listen to us rather than see us on screen, or maybe you're interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, you can check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search In the Spotlight 401. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode ever produced in your 8 years been doing the show. So it's every episode from our original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. All of our episodes from our Talk Shoe run from January 2011, all up to mid-October 2015. And all the episodes from our Google Plus and YouTube run from mid-October 2015, all the way up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes are transferred into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience, in order from the most recent, that being tonight's episode, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010. These episodes are available for you to listen to anytime you want. Maybe you're a long-time fan that wants to check out an episode of the show from way back when again, or a new fan wants to check an episode that old for the first time, or you want to keep up with current episodes, want to check out an episode again, listen to a part of an episode that you might have missed. Maybe if you want to listen to us on the go, or if any of that applies to you, you can check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Search In the Spotlight 401. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways. Keep up the show and look back at classic episodes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 and then search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, as I've done every show since he hasn't been here, shout out to my co-host Mike. Hopefully, he'll be back with us soon, and we'll get back and rolling again. And we wish him well, and hope things keep getting better for him. Congratulate myself on a great show, pat myself on my back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that'll be watching or listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. That is it for tonight. Our first show of the week will be back this coming Thursday. That's September the 27th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, that's same start time for a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of wrestling. We'll do box office beat. We'll have the return of the TV highlights of the week. We'll talk about some of the new fall shows and, of course, some of the returning favorites that have come back this week so far. Talk about those, maybe some reviews of those shows. Any other big entertainment news we have to cover, we'll be sure to cover. And then we'll do some wrestling, Raw and SmackDown highlights, and the other big wrestling news. We'll have it for you on Thursday and discuss it on Thursday. So that's what will be coming your way this coming Thursday, the 27th at 10 o'clock from Eastern Time. That is our next show. And again, our new stuff, our new format, our new direction, whatever you want to call it, will not be starting next week. We have postponed that indefinitely. We'll talk more about that in the coming episodes, give you all the information about that and more, and get everything set and going in that direction. But for now, we will not be doing that. So. All right, so that being said, that is it. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here this coming Thursday night, September the 27th, broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, good night, everybody.